All right, Andy, we're back.
We're back.
The cool
Feels
truth.
like it feels like we never really left. Like here we are again.
I know, right? It wasn't really that long ago, but I love that we've made it happen so fast.
Yeah, me too.
And so I was just sharing, well, I was re-remembering, I guess, the conversation that we had last time. And one of the pieces that I wanted to draw out was around compassionate self-forgiveness.
Hmm.
Because you were sharing about this experience that you'd had with this loss and this turbulence and this like on my knees moment and the pathway back to um, a life as you now know it.
Yeah.
And so you were sharing around this real heart-centered work that you'd done and from many, many different mentors and guides and years of spiritual understanding and education. But when you were sharing about your document and creating we call it an I am document, right? Like creating this
Yeah.
document. And I know that there's a lot of people in my world who will understand what this is and they'll understand the intricacies of the process. That it's
Mm-hmm.
not as simple as I write a statement and then I am it.
Right. Right.
And but there'll be lots of people who don't, who have heard things like, well, I've tried affirmations and they don't work for me. This is just an affirmation.
Yeah.
So I thought it would be fun for us to draw out um, some of the in like some of the, I don't know what the right word is. I guess sacredness feels like a good word for it because it does feel like it's a very special, sacred, personal, intimate process. And for it to be that way, that's what makes it impactful.
Yeah.
So why don't you share with us whatever comes to mind
Hmm.
when you reconnect with that process for you back then, the feelings and the experience that you were in,
Yeah.
um, and how you went from where you were to developing this relationship with this very special way of being um, in your
Yeah.
world.
It's funny. I don't have to work very hard to just come right into my heart. Like it's
Mhm.
it's right there.
Yeah.
Um, even the first, it's funny when you were describing the how a lot of people relate to affirmations as they're just words, like I've done affirmations before and they don't work and they're just a bunch of words. And even my first line in my document, I am loved, brings up so much. There's so much depth to that just by itself. I almost don't need the rest of it. Like that's enough.
Yeah.
Um,
Can I ask a few questions around that then?
sure.
Um, I know I'm aware I didn't give you very much space after just inviting you into this exploration. Um, but I am loved. So let's imagine somebody is feeling unlovable. And I don't know if that was your experience
Mm.
back then or if you were in that kind of ballpark. But I am loved can seem like such a distant goal if we have a lot of judgment on ourselves and we have a lot of past experiences and behaviors and things that we've done or been involved in or um, that stop us from really truly believing that. And so I'm curious about if it feels like that is something that's so far removed from the truth. I am loved. And then give you so much evidence of how I'm not loved and how people leave me and, the stories that are going to come in. How do you, like, what do you do with that? Let's say it's like, that's my destination. That would be my dream. I would absolutely love to believe that as my truth, but it just doesn't seem real.
Mm.
Like, how do you go from, because you obviously have such a phenomenal like connection to that statement that it does
Yeah.
things to you.
Yeah.
So how do you go from it being so far removed from my possibility to being my truth.
Well, I mean, I wish I could just package up a the 5-step process of how to do this, and because I could sell it to a lot of people and make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like, I wish there was just some simple answer to that. Um, I think it starts by, or it started for me anyway, by really looking at my life and looking at the components of my life and looking at the starting to see starting to see things from a different perspective, from a different view. All of the accomplishments, all of the things that I did over and over and over again to try to prove my worthiness, um, which I didn't have the experience that's what I was doing. I didn't have the experience that I was trying to prove my worthiness. I was just doing my life. And when in looking in gaining perspective, in I guess it's really more the breakdown that had to occur for me to be willing to open my eyes in a new way. Um, hitting the wall or having that breakdown, and not feeling like I had a foundation or a firm foundation on anything. Um, Being willing to start to explore, well, maybe there's another way. Maybe there's something else going on here. Maybe there's, because even prior to that, so that was in 2019 when I had I call it my big year. It was a big dark year, but it was also a big year of transition and like coming into the light. Um, uh, I had done a lot of work in self-forgiveness. I'd done a lot of exploring and looking, but it didn't, um, it didn't stick the way it's stuck now because it didn't transform anything.
Mm.
There was nothing. I just I feel like um I was learning what I really wanted to learn all these things, and I wanted to do all these things. Like, I wanted to learn this deeper spiritual connection, and I learned a lot of things. Um but they didn't they landed, but they didn't land in this profound way where they had this incredible important meaning to me in my life. And I, I hope that's not a necessary component, because it would be awful if everybody has to go through that in order to get that sort of a transformation. I don't know if that's necessary or not. I mean, a lot of the people that I work with now are stuck in difficult periods in their life. Um, and those are special times where you have an opening into seeing something um, represents something truly unique and different. Like, you can try. It's like almost like walking into a store that you've never even considered putting on these clothes, and going into a completely new store and putting on like completely different colors, completely different styles. It'd be like me going and dressing like Elton John or something. It would be insane. Like, that just would be completely not like what I do.
We'll do that for the next video.
Fantastic, fantastic. Um, and that's what that's what I think those times allow for, if you let them. Because a lot of people we'll just go right back to I just got to put my head down and work harder and, I'll come through this,
Mm,
which is probably also true. I mean, most people make it, otherwise the suicide rate would be, like 90%. Everybody would hit a hard time in their life and they'd just be like, okay, that doesn't happen.
yeah.
So, and at the same time, not everybody transforms their thinking too. That's even rarer. So there has to be a strong enough need and a strong enough desire to like one of the mantras I used to say to myself is I want to see. Just
Mm,
I want to see. I want to see. I want to see. I want to see. Like I was saying it over and over. I want to see. I want to know. Um, it became kind of an obsession. Like
mm,
like I will tell people it's kind of like going from the being on the ground floor in like Manhattan, in the city of Manhattan, you can see maybe a block or two blocks
mhm,
to going up to the top and then being able to look around and going, "Oh, that's where I want to go. Oh, that's what's possible. Oh, that's what I can see. That's where I can go." And uh now I don't even remember your question.
Me neither. Um, but I love what you're sharing there around like I want to see, I want to see, I want to see. I I remember times where that wasn't necessarily my mantra, but it was definitely the feeling of like, teach me what's in the next level. Teach me what's in the next room. I want to see it, but I don't see it. I want to see it, but I don't see it. And
Right.
just feeling so frustrated that people were trying to point me to something and I couldn't get it. I could not see what they were seeing. And I think there's a difference from needing to see
Mm,
and because you think that's where your freedom is, your peace is, your I need to see because I'm not whole from this flaw.
mhm,
And relaxing into the idea as a possibility of like, I'm whole now on this flaw
mhm,
and I want to see. And something shifted in me when it went from a need out of like desperation
yeah,
to
right,
um, curiosity and not resisting where I was, not needing anything to happen faster than it was happening. Because we can all fall into that, right? Like it needs to happen now. Life will be better if it could happen quicker.
right.
And if we believe we let go of that, if we let go of that, then it's dangerous because things won't happen fast. So that has us hang on to it even more. Is this making sense, Andy?
Yeah. It's the perception. I think it's the perception that it's out there somewhere that has you striving to go get it. What do I need to do? What are the steps to make that happen? And I need to see it now because I'm uncomfortable where I am and I want to be somewhere else. And maybe if I just do these steps and I get to see something and I can do this thing, then I'll get there.
Mm,
And the magic is it's all already here right now. It's all
mm.
here. There is no there.
Yeah.
There's no there there.
And I think that's so, it's like a riddle. You know, I just remember just being so flipping confused by all this when I was trying to get like understand it with my head. And you're saying it's already here. And then but you're pointing me to here. Like I don't, like I don't understand. Stop
Yeah.
speaking in riddles. And so I'd get really frustrated because I was the same as you. Like I want to see. I have a hunger and a insatiable appetite for growth and for learning and for having a different experience. And so I think it's important to highlight that relaxing into an acceptance of this flaw doesn't mean you're going to stay on this flaw.
Yes, exactly. Right. Right.
And if
And I
you,
think that's the fear. That's
yeah,
the fear. If I accept this, then I'm just settling for where
yeah,
I am and I'll
not
never move into any other place. And that's the thing that keeps you stuck. Um, because it's all I would say maybe even more than what I see is all available. The deeper you go into acceptance of where you are, you want to move into another dimension, it's all right here now.
Mm.
I think that's my take. I haven't moved into another dimension yet. Maybe I never will, but we'll see.
It's waiting
Uh,
to put your Elton John costume on.
exactly right. I need, yeah, but see, that just happens. That'll be automatic. It'll just as I go through the portal, puts me in a suit with a big
Well,
bow tie and some crazy glasses.
we're definitely selling that and not the steps thing because that will go for a higher price.
That's right.
Um, so
But I think going back to what we were talking about, we were talking about forgiveness and how, that's really the foundation of the document, the process that I thought was so powerful that Steve Hardison put together that, it's really originated at USM, at University of Santa Monica. Um, there was a thing we did the very first weekend of my program where we drew it's really a mind map, but it had a heart in the middle of it, and inside the heart it said I am, and then you made little branches off of the I am, and each one of the things was I am blank, I am blank, I am blank, and they um their coaching was to kind of cover different areas of your life and who are you being in relation to your wife and your kids and your business and it was really the foundation of the document, but it didn't have the forgiveness piece. We didn't really cover self-forgiveness for another, like, I don't know, 7 months, 6 or 7 months in the first year.
mm,
And so that wasn't tied to it the way Steve Hardison tied it to it in his process. And well, at least I don't know if it's his process. I've learned it through like several other people. So I don't know what his process is, but it's a version of his process.
mhm.
Um, and I find that to be really kind of critical. At least it's been for me, critical to connecting to the depth of each one of those affirmations, each one of those statements. I am loved, because there's so much bound up in the stories that I've told myself for 50 years about my unlovableness, my need to prove my worthiness, my need to make myself good enough and worthy enough to be loved and to be accepted and to have other people be around me. There's so many layers of judgment that were present that that statement doesn't do anything if I don't handle the underlying misbeliefs about my unworthiness. It's like putting a band-aid on top of a gaping chest wound. Like it just doesn't matter. Is not going to stop anything.
So you just said a really important word. You said misbeliefs.
Mm,
Now, when
right.
someone comes into this process, might be for the first time, might be on something new, a new judgment. So at that point, it doesn't necessarily look or feel like a misbelief, right?
Right.
And so, talk us through that a little. Like that just fell off the tongue. These misbeliefs.
Yeah, it feels like a belief. It's a belief, right? Like all the things that I always believed about myself were, well, they're beliefs, right? No, nobody says misbeliefs. Like, what does that even mean, misbeliefs? I remember the first time that Mary uh, taught us that. It might have been Ron. I think it was Mary though. Uh, you know, I forgive myself for buying into the misbelief that,
Mm,
and I probably had to say it hundreds of times before I really even understood what the hell I was saying.
Mm.
Um, because it's a misunderstanding that you create. This is my interpretation of what it is. It's a misunderstanding that you create from an early age in your life that has you as not uh, worthy, not enough, not lovable, not this divine being. You're a human being, not a divine being, and so therefore you're flawed, and you're broken, and you've got parts that are, you know, unfixable, or you know, yeah, flawed. Um, I don't think I ever thought those things, but in looking at them in hindsight, that's what was happening. And the crazy thing about it is none of them are true. They're all made up stories that I that we all make up based on our experience of what's going on around us in our life, based on our experience. Like it's the way we just put it together. Like, mom must not care about me because she was 15 minutes late to pick me up from daycare, and I'm sitting here by myself, and I'm really sad, and I'm really alone, and I'm really scared, and I want her to, to show up, and she's not coming, and maybe she's not going to come. Maybe I'm not worthy. Maybe I'm not, like, and so your brain, without you even really knowing that you're doing it, puts this story together about your unworthiness. Maybe I've been bad. Maybe I should talk less. Maybe I should get better grades in school. Maybe I should, like, what do I need to do to prove that I'm worthy of her showing up and picking me up? And and then you create a strategy for how to solve that, for that problem that you perceive that you have. You don't even have the problem, but because your mom doesn't not love you, and she didn't, there's nothing that she did that is accurately portraying someone that doesn't love you. And you just made it up. It's crazy. It's a crazy thing that we all do, and that we don't know that we do. And then we spend our lives living inside of this mental prison that has us as something that we're not.
Yeah. I sometimes like to say it's doing us. And
Yeah.
the other thing people can do is like blame themselves and shame themselves for doing it. Like, why do I do that? But it's actually the human design, right? It's like you're looking out at the world as a kid, and you're observing and you're learning and you're taking everything in. And you've learned mom didn't show up on time. She doesn't love me.
Yeah.
I'm not lovable. But you're
Right.
not literally going, this must mean, you're not
No, no, no. You haven't done that at all.
going, brain, please remember what's actually happening. You're in a feeling of discomfort, of sadness, of whatever it is. And you don't want to be in that feeling again. So that you say you create these winning strategies of try harder, get better results, do this, do that, so that I can be lovable in mom's eyes. And we're not doing any of that. Something is occurring
Yeah,
inside
yeah, yeah.
that is doing it, and we're not questioning it.
Yeah, we don't have any, we talk about the word agency, or I talk about the word agency a lot. There's no agency because there's not even any consciousness of it. There's not even any awareness of it. It's like people think that they're free to choose whatever they want to do. Well, you're not free to choose if you don't know that this is running you. You're not free. You're really not free to choose. There is no freedom because you're not even aware that this is happening. I mean, it's a great way to put it. It's running you. You're not choosing it. It's doing it to you. You are absolutely a victim of your own mind.
You're off the hook. Um,
Yeah. Damn
so
that mind.
it's a powerful muscle, and we can use it to our advantage, which is what these I am documents are about, right? It's like, well, if we can use it to I am this in the negative direction, I am unlovable. We can use this as a I am lovable. I am
Right.
lovable. And we can take that on and we can try it on and we can look for that deeper truth. And
Well, that's what happens when, when I went through multiple versions of the process, you know, you get to this place of when you go through enough forgiveness, enough, I forgive myself for judging myself as not enough. I forgive myself for judging myself as not worthy. I forgive myself for judging myself as a piece of shit. I forgive myself for judging myself as, unlovable. I forgive myself for judging you go through these over and over. I forgive myself for buying into the misbelief that I need to prove my worthiness. I forgive myself for buying into the misbelief that that the number of medals I have are some indication of my worth in the world. There are hundreds of these forgivenesses, and you go through enough of them, and you start to clear out the space that you need for something else to um, come in.
mm,
It's it's like all that shit's in the way. You can't just throw something on top of it, and that's why affirmations don't work because you haven't cleared any of the other shit out.
yeah.
And and when you clear that stuff out, something else will naturally arise. Like I didn't ever go into the process with knowing that I'm unlovable and thinking that, oh, I really need an affirmation to address the fact that I think I'm unlovable. That wasn't part of the process. I don't even know which of my self-judgments I went in to the process with to create I'm loved.
Hmm.
I don't remember because it could have been a lot of any of them. There could have been a lot. And that arose. It
Mm.
just arose.
I love this. It's like you're living in the unknown with this creation. Like we don't know. We can't manufacture it. We can't like it can't it has to come through us. It has to evolve
Yeah,
without us interfering or polishing or perfecting. It's like it's what wants to be heard.
yeah.
And we're not really in charge. Um I do remember my entry point because I'm the same as you in that I would say I've done this before. It's never really landed for me.
Mhm.
And I had a different process that I loved, like the living vision. I absolutely loved that. And that created incredible results in my life.
Yeah, I mean that's another USM process.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And and essentially it's in the same ballpark, right? It's
yeah.
a very similar thing.
But it's a narrative, right? It's a narrative. Like you create your story of if you're operating within your quote unquote document, then there's a story that goes along with that, and you get to create the story and write your vision of what your life looks like as you're living those I am statements.
Yes. And so
That's
my
is that how it was for you? Was that
the vision for me was an invitation to be it now.
mm,
And so before, affirmations, like the I ams, it hadn't really landed in the same way. But I think it's because the practicality of the vision, you know, I'm
right,
recognizing and appreciating everything that I've created in this last year that hasn't yet happened. I've written it from the future, being
right,
grateful
right.
for this year that's gone by. And every morning I would look at it and I would connect and I would read it with my coffee and I would ask, am I living this? Am I living this? And if
Mm,
I wasn't, I would start living it,
mm,
right? Because it's like there's no way I'm getting to the end of this year and this not having come to life. So it was
mm,
an invitation to like get into the page and bring the page to life. And my words to my clients were like, breathe life into your document and have it breathe life into you. It's a two-way street.
yeah.
But I remember going through the I am process again with a coach, and he was brilliant. We hadn't I hadn't come and said I want to do the I ams. He hadn't had an idea on his agenda we were going to do that, but we were
Mm,
working on not being heard. So that was like a big thing for me around I get so frustrated when I don't feel like I'm heard. And that story has ran for many years, and that stems from being a kid where, you know, shyness and wanting to hide and stay small and not be heard. And
Yeah.
now I'm like, I'm a stand for especially women's voices wanting to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
And so this frustration would come up and I'm not being heard. And I remember this one time when I asked someone for space, and they'd 10 minutes later they'd come into my messenger, and here was a note from them. And are you still with us, Andy?
Yeah, I'm here.
I thought you'd frozen. Maybe you're just looking.
No, I'm just listening.
Um, so this note comes in, and it had only been 10 minutes, and I was like, I'm so angry. I'm so angry. I asked for space, and they haven't given me it. I'm so sick of not being heard. And so my coach was he was working with me on like, what's the judgment here? And I just couldn't see it. I just couldn't see it because I was saying, I articulated myself perfectly, you know, because for me, if I'm like, I'm not heard, then my agency lies in communicating better or articulating better. And
Mm-hmm.
I was so clear. I was so clear. There's nothing in here to look at. Nothing. I was so clear. The problem is out there.
Of course it is.
They're not listening to me. They're not giving me the grace of space. You know, it's them that's the issue here. So their behavior.
Yeah.
My coach was just so loving and so present and so gnarly with me around this whole process. And eventually, because he was just adamant of like this, you know, just it's not true with a capital T, but like, what if it is? What if it's true that any judgment on someone else is a judgment on yourself? And I
Mm-hmm.
talk about that now because this had such a profound impact on me. Any judgment on someone else is a judgment on yourself. I'm like, nope. I was articulating myself perfectly. No, it's not that. It's not that. Well, I don't know what the judgment is. And eventually, where we landed, because I was willing to look, right? So, you know, you were saying about I want to see, I want to see.
Yeah.
So I was willing to look because I was in pain. And so I was willing to look. And eventually we got to this root cause was safety. Like, it's not safe when someone isn't heard. Because if the truth doesn't come out, you can't have justice. And that's dangerous. Now, I would never have come into the session going, hey, I've got this thing I want to work on.
Right.
I
Right.
would never, ever have collapsed those two consciously.
Right.
But that's what was occurring. So each time when I was feeling like they don't see me, they're not hearing me, that trigger of this is dangerous.
What
This
was the judgment? What was your judgment of you? How was that related to you personally? Like,
keep myself safe.
uh,
So
right.
all my I ams and my mantras were around I'm safe. I'm
Yeah.
more than capable of keeping myself safe. And then that became my leadership evolved through boundaries, through in I used to have a tendency of always asking questions, you know, like as a coach, we ask a lot of questions, but instead I got into the practice of being really direct with what I want.
Yeah.
So there was a whole body of work that came out of that, but ultimately, you know, I am safe. And then from there, my document exploded um, into just an elevated leadership of my life, I would say.
It's funny, my first, really my first kind of 5 or 6 lines in my document are all about safety. Like I'm loved. Then the next one is I am safe. I am that no matter what happens, I'm going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always right where I'm supposed to be. I am that life loves me and always has my back. They're just reminders that this shit always works out. And life is a gift and happening for me and never to me. And no one's ever, that's another one that comes a little bit later. And it just creates this like it settles my whole nervous system. I shift into a whole new uh I shift into a whole new being. Like
Mm,
literally when this happens, it's funny because I haven't done what you've done with your living vision, living into my future that way. And it's an interesting that might be something I want to look at in the future to do, maybe. Um, for now, because I don't know where this is headed. I don't know what my future holds. It's revealing itself as I go.
mm,
And it's revealing itself because it's changing my vibration. It's changing my state. It's changing my energy. And, part of me definitely feels impatient, feels like, well, where the fuck am I going? What are my goals? What am I going to hit? What am I, what I have to, there's a very linear aspect of my mind, my mental thinking that isn't comfortable at all with just being a higher vibration. I mean, that's so woo woo. And yet I've learned that letting that part of me lead um, is really a higher state for me, is a higher, I, it's a higher level of um, acceptance of what is and like letting life, like I love Alan Watts. And, one of the things that I've heard him say is, the earth, like an apple tree apples, right? An apple tree creates apples. The earth peoples. So the earth just pops out people like an apple tree apples. And if we extrapolate that to ourselves, letting myself just be me. And I know that sounds weird. Like, what? What does that even mean? But an apple doesn't have to try to be an apple, or a pig doesn't have to try to be a pig. It just is.
mm.
My dog doesn't try to be anything other than what it is. It's just us that does that do that.
Yeah, and I wonder sometimes if that's because we are wired differently.
Yeah.
And this, this free will and this the amygdala and like
Yeah.
we are wired differently to apples.
Well, I think it's a I mean, what I've been taught is, being in human form is the highest level of, it's like an honor to have been birthed into this body in this way, in this place, at this time. Um, and we're at the highest level. Like an apple doesn't have the same capacity um, to create,
Yeah.
you know, because an apple doesn't see outside of it just being an apple. And we actually get to, this sounds very wackadoodle, but we literally get to play God. Like
Mm,
we are we the kingdom of heaven is within. Well, guess what? It's fucking true. It is within. And if that's true, then this whole idea that this I don't know how I got here. That Jesus or our religious leaders are out there trying, they're pointing to something that we're not, and they're here to save us or rescue us. I think is a line of is a crock of crap.
mm,
It's all within us. We have the power. I think Jesus was an incredible role model to teach us that it's all within. I don't think he was any greater than any of us, except he believed. He didn't believe, he knew. He didn't have to believe because he knew, he it's we have that capacity.
yeah.
We just have this prefrontal cortex that gets in the way and convinces us that we're not who we actually are.
There was a phrase that I was playing with, and well, have for years really, but being is not transactional. And I brought this into the school recently around like what does that mean? Being is not transactional, because I think as humans we are transactional. I'll
Yep.
do this if,
Yep.
I'll be kind to you if
Mm-hmm.
it's an exchange. And actually, if what we're talking about in this document is like, I am, when I'm really living, I'm living my truth, I'm living my essence, I'm out there in the world and I'm being me. That's not transactional.
It's not transactional, right?
I'm not doing this to get something.
And we get caught. I mean, I get caught up in that, you know, like the other day, I remember um, I was upset with my wife for something. And oh, I don't remember what I was upset about, but I was not in a good mood or a good place. And in the mornings, there are a bunch of things that I do to get my kind of get my day started in a way that's powerful. I don't always get to do them, but when I do, it's fantastic. And one of the things that I'd like to do that I don't do that I it's weird. I talk myself out of it. Like, oh, I don't really need to do that. Oh, you know, and it's write some sort of a loving note to, usually it's been with my wife, but it could be with anybody that in my life that has been meaningful to me. You know, just some acknowledgement of of who they are to me. And it doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be some big mushy love letter. So I remember being just annoyed, irritated, bothered. I was in this state of, because I saw what was coming in my day and I was already behind, and I looked down at my list of things to do and this came up and I was like, oh, I don't feel like doing that. Like, geez, really? Like, and I just um but then I was like, okay, just do it. And I picked up my phone and I thought, okay, well, I'm going to text Julia, and I I had no idea what I was going to say. No idea. Like, because I was in this very negative state. And I don't know what just happened. I just got this little thing like, the world's a better place because you're in it.
Oh.
And I just sent her that. And I, the gift was for me. The
Mm-hmm.
gift, like, I immediately, like, waterworks, and she didn't even get it for like 15 minutes. She was up showering, and like, it completely shifted. Like, it was a creation of my document in action. And you know this whole thing started. I tend to wait. Oh, she's not being enough, she's not being loving, she's not showing up in a way, she's really busy at work, and she won't even get my text because she's too busy, she won't respond to it, like all these stories that have me as not powerful, as not creating myself and being living my document. And when I do, it's like it's like this note, this purity of, say, like 432 hertz, like it all just lines up, and I could feel it. Like, it's just like, whoa, wow.
And I think as well, Andy, because I think people listen because they want something to be better and they have an idea of what's better. And when you're sharing that way of being, like that did something for you. I imagine when your wife read it, it probably did something for her too.
Yeah, it did. I mean, it wasn't the impact for her that it was for me. It was way bigger for me than it was for her. Um,
Sometimes that way of being, because we talked about Steve, but his way of being can be intense, and that's too much for people. He's not loved by everyone.
right, right.
So it's like I want to normalize like that, like if this is my truth, this is who I am, and I own this, and I'm walking around in the world doing this, it's gonna have people like move away from me as well.
Sure.
I'm too
Yeah.
much for people,
Yeah.
and I'm not for others. And so I think when we're trying to fit in the boxes to have everybody like, what's my way of being that's gonna get this person to like me, or this person to not be upset, or this person to feel
Yeah.
comfortable about themselves, then it's like exhausting.
Yeah.
So there's just got to be an understanding, I think, and an acceptance of like, this is my way of being. And it's loving and it's gracious and it's whatever it is. It's whole, and some people are really, that's going to draw out the shadows in a lot of people too.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, because it's hard. That is hard. Um, because of course, I think my way is the best way.
Is the best.
So people are, in my little small mind, people are idiots if they don't fucking love this. Like, of course, they should do this too. They should be sending a love note to their wife every morning because that's the strategy that works. Um, and anybody that doesn't relate to that or doesn't feel, oh, when I say that or whatever, like, what's wrong with them? They're not connected. They're disconnected from their heart. They should, you
Ground
know.
floor again. Ground floor.
That's right. Your mind almost immediately moves into that small mind that is comparing. I was telling my buddy this morning, I was one of my friends who also sent his kid off to college this year. We dropped our kid off a month ago, and he did too. And they were really good friends growing up. And he plays lacrosse, and my son plays soccer. Well, my son decided not to play soccer at college. He's it's not that he's not well, they don't have a Division 1 soccer team at the school he went to, and so he could have played club, but he got on the club team and then decided he didn't really want to do it, and he'd rather drink beer and rush a fraternity. So that brought up all sorts of stuff for me, and then my friend texted, his son is playing lacrosse at Boston College and playing against MIT, in 3 weeks, and I'm like, oh fuck, really? Jesus. Like the comparison, like, oh, I must not look at what a shitty dad I am because my son is not making those choices. And that's just more material to work with.
Yeah. But it's so powerful to see that, like not dismissing, like I don't do that, or terrible dad for doing that. It's like just having that awareness of seeing the narrative that is running and creating a new relationship with that in a dialogue that we have.
Yeah.
One of the things, I think this is really fun to just share with you, and I'm conscious of your time as well, but I wrote down almost no questions right before we came onto this conversation. But the one question that I did write down was, what would your next chapter involve if you let all expectations fall away?
Mm.
And I feel like you shared about that, of like, I'm in this land of um the unknown, and it's unfamiliar and unusual, and I don't always like it. But I wanted to bring that in because it's literally like I wrote down 3 questions,
Hmm.
and that was one of them before.
It's funny because it is a struggle with my the part of me that has always gone out and gotten things. Like, like I put my mind to it and I go get it. And I say I'm going to do this and then I go do it. And I, constantly looking toward the horizon and setting my sights on something and then going and achieving it. And I don't think that's a bad thing.
Oh, I know.
And I don't think that I have to surrender that aspect of who I am. And at the same time, knowing that wherever I am is right where I'm supposed to be and is okay. Um, I have this picture in my head of this just ease of life. Like
Mm-hmm.
not that life is easy, but that an ease of life is something that I create in me. So whatever is happening, I'm at ease. And it doesn't matter. I just was writing about this the other day. It doesn't matter where I live. It doesn't matter. Like, I'd love to live in some paradise place where it's perfectly sunny and beautiful every day, and I've got no cares in the world, and there's a beautiful beach and, waves, and then some mountains really close by that I could just, like it's this impossible place and I'm in a perfect state every time I'm in it. But what I wrote was, it doesn't matter where I am because that environment is the environment within me.
Mm-hmm.
And I could be in England for God's sakes, and or in Seattle where it's cloudy and rainy like 70% of the days, and it's okay. Or I've always said to my wife, like I love Southern California. I could never move to she's from Chicago. I could never move to Chicago. It's flat. It's got no, it's got no ocean, no waves. It's got no real mountains. That sounds awful, but the truth is that's just the icing.
Hmm.
It's the cupcake is what matters most to me. The cake is what's inside, and that's what really matters. I could live anywhere, if I'm good with me,
I'd
because
love,
yeah,
I'd love
go
to
ahead.
know what the experience is like of creating. Like if you took that vision of where it is that I really want to live, that you created from an energy of like all expectations can fall away,
Hmm.
and I'm creating, and all expectations can fall away. Because that to me feels like quite a different energy, for me as well. Then I'm shooting for this, and I want this, and I'm having this, and it
Right,
I don't get that, right? That it's like this is different. This is I can create for the joy of creating, and I can really go for what I want. I don't have to deny what I want.
right, right.
I don't have any expectation that my happiness comes from it.
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm really enjoying what I want is that inner freedom, that inner peace. So that's what I'm pointing towards right now. I haven't converted that into, say, like a living vision where actually it's manifesting as something in the real world. Right now, it's for me, I'm enough just with creating this inner landscape
Mm,
right here,
mm,
right in the world that I'm in right now. There is no future. There is no tomorrow. It's now, and doing it now. That's really where I've focused all my attention for now.
mm. Yeah.
Maybe when I get really good at that, then I can expand. But I'm a beginner and I'm a very slow learner.
Who knows, Anthony? Who knows? I feel like whatever we do is an expression of our being. And
Yeah.
I was come back to my book. I just remember this so clearly when I was writing the book and just being so intentional about I'm having a day off. And then I was back at my laptop writing. And I didn't even remember getting here. I was like, what the hell? I was on the sofa. How am I over here? And how am I over here? So I think if you cultivate a way of being, like the doing's not always going to be optional.
Right.
You know,
Well, I
I
think sometimes you also have to set up boundaries that require you to honor, that don't allow you to go unconscious and to go do something, that hold you.
I do, yeah. But I feel like here's what I want to say about this, and this will be the last thing that I say.
Yeah.
Um, we create in polarities, right? So we're like, I'm burnt out, I'm stressed, I'm not doing anything, and therefore I put boundaries around it, and I'm not doing anything. But if that being is like it wants to move me in some way back here and doing this work, not from a I have to, but from that's flow state. We can resist
Yes.
because
Yes.
we have made up a rule that we have to have this particular hour or this particular day off. And I think people get confused around.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not resisting what wants to be moved through just because you've made up a rule that this is my off season.
It's such a hard thing because yeah, like on one hand, you want to create structure that gives you or systems that give you the results you want, but on the other hand, you want to have the freedom to be able to move with grace and with ease so that when you're having a day off, that moving into work um, is absolutely great
Mhm.
and fine because there's nothing wrong. It's not, yeah, it messes with your head. It's hard to, put all that together.
Structure. We like to have structure. We like a framework. We like to know how things are going to be.
Yeah,
And this goes, well, no, I'm not playing that game.
right, right, right. Yeah.
There's something here for you to get used to.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. Andy, thanks so much for talking to me again.
This was great. I love these conversations. So if my life was all filled with these conversations, I would be a very happy guy.
There we go. Let's just fill the life with conversations. I feel exactly the same way. I have a post-it note on my wall and it says, travel the world, share ideas that help people master life, and spend time with amazing people.
Mm.
That's it. That's my
That's
being.
cool. I love that. I love that.
Yeah. So thank you. I'm
Thank
gonna
you.
get a ticket for today, although I didn't travel very far today.
You don't have to go that far, right? Well, I mean, you did. You traveled all the way to Southern California. Look at that.
There we go. I'm gonna take that.
Yeah,
All right, it's awesome. It's awesome to speak to you again, Andy, and hopefully we'll speak again soon.
that sounds good.
All right, have a good one.
Okay, you too.